So we undertook several processes to get there. The first in the province, the first in Maritimes, and I think with your graces, perhaps the first in Canada, to become a private career college or a college with a standalone degree program.
How can a set of skills lead you down the path to success? That's what we're setting out to answer on the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster. Join me as we unpack how leaders around the world have taken training and skills and turned that into a lasting career. Now let's learn together. Welcome back to the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster, and today we have what I'm going to call an extra special episode in store for you because of some significant things that happened in the province of New Brunswick just 2 days ago. So joining us in New Brunswick is Darcie Reidpath, a driving force behind educational excellence and innovation at Oulton College in Moncton, New Brunswick. Darcie comes with a wealth of experience and a passion for empowering students, and she has been instrumental in shaping the future of education in New Brunswick and at Oulton College specifically as the president and co-owner. They're very focused at Oulton College of creating fostering an environment where students are not just educated but are inspired to excel. From groundbreaking curriculum developments to pioneering news that just this week we will dive into. In today's episodes, we'll delve into Darcie's journey, exploring the challenges, triumphs, and insights that have shaped her own career, her own life, and Oulton College. So grab your headphones and join us as we embark on a journey of discovery with Darcie Reidpath. Darcie, welcome to the EdUp Canada podcast.
Thank you, Michael.
We don't do the long intros of letting people explain their own life. We like to jive right in. People can look online at who you are and what you've done, but why not just give me a little bit of background on Oulton College, where you're located, how many students you've got, just a little bit of history.
Sure, pleased to do that, Michael. So like you mentioned, we're in Moncton, New Brunswick. We only have locations in Moncton. We have 3 campuses there. Oulton started as a private institution in 1956 and has grown significantly each and every year since that time. Like I said, we now have 3 campuses. I joined in 1998 and the ownership team in 2005. We now have close to 1,000 students, domestic and international mix, with about 20 programs.
And you've got a nice international mix you have had for a while. And my understanding is the government of New Brunswick has asked you to take on more, even despite the changes that are going on right now.
Well, I understand that New Brunswick fared fairly well in the negotiations with the federal government. So we still have a small number of international students relative to what we see across Canada, Michael, in and around the 120, 150 range. But that's significant for Oulton College and the community at Moncton.
And those are training into positions needed in the economy locally, right? Aren't they? They're very targeted training roles.
They are. They're part of the pilot project with the government of New Brunswick and IRCC that's assigned specific NOC codes or occupational codes that the students go right into professions that they've studied.
And are needed in the province with the province designating or targeting the kind of roles that are needed, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So we like to have a little fun here. So without getting us into, too much trouble, what makes an East Coast career college better than the ones in Western Canada?
Oh, my. I won't get you in any trouble, I promise, because first thing I'll say is that I've got colleagues all across Canada that I've learned from. We've had a lot of fun in this industry for over 20 years together. So I wouldn't even know if I could say better, Michael, but I'd like to say different. And that's sort of been my story over the 25 years I've been with Oulton is everybody in New Brunswick and East Coast, I think, does a really good job trying to be different. I never say we're better. We're certainly never worse, but we are different. And Oulton College, East Coast, I think we all make a huge effort to stay true to our East Coast roots. Remember who our students are. Remember where they come from. Remember what our province needs, and just keep it small and steady.
I get to sit around the table. I'm fortunate with yourself and people like Stuart Bentley and Tony Reeder and others that are leaders, Dale Ritchie, in your sector. You all work well together, even though you're at different colleges, to make sure you're meeting the needs, don't you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like I said, I've been colleagues with those people you mentioned for over 20 years, and we've had a lot of great learnings together, and I think shared a lot of success and been there for each other when times were a little difficult. So, yeah, the great bunch we have on the East Coast.
So I gotta dive right in because I wanted to have you here this week, and thank you for making time in what is a very, very big busy week.
Yeah.
On Monday, you had a really big day, and I can still see the smile on your face. You became a degree granting institution. And I know that's a big deal. People in our sector know that's a big deal. But maybe you can explain to our listeners why is that a big deal, and what are the two you explained to me earlier, the two different reasons you're degree granting, or two things that are. So why don't you give me a little background?
Sure. It's been quite a journey, Michael. There are some professions that this province and Canada need, and one of them is nurses. So while as a private career college, we were, educating personal support workers at one point, and we have practical nursing students go through each and every year, the big demand for registered nurses still exists, of course, in the province. And so it had been a mission of mine to figure out a way for Oulton College to offer this. And so in order to do that, because it's a degree program, we also had to become a degree granting institution, or in other words, what we may know as a university, because nursing can only be offered in the format of a degree. We need to be able to confer degrees. So we undertook several processes to get there. The first in the province, the first in Maritimes, and I think with your graces, perhaps the first in Canada, to become a private career college or a college with a standalone degree program. And so we first did the degree institutional assessment, which gave us that authority to offer and to confer degrees. Once you have that institutional structure, governance, and so on in place, then you apply for each individual program that would be offering degree. So nursing was the mission, nursing was the purpose, and here we are, degree granting institution, offering a bachelor's of science in nursing program beginning in the fall.
So no, let's dive into the first part. So you became a degree granting institution, and the way you explain it, we don't have time in this podcast to figure out how many different hoops you had to go through to get that. But I understand that comes with a new regulator for you.
Yes. So that's right. Sorry, I missed that point with you, Michael. But we remain, a college, a private career college offering diploma programs like we have. We've now, if you will, bolted on this very important Bachelor's of Science in Nursing program that, because it's outside of the Private Occupational Training Act that exists in New Brunswick, has a different regulator. Okay, so under post-secondary education training and labor, there's the sector, the private sector that's regulated at the college level. And then there's the degree granting sector, private or public, that is regulated under a different branch of post-secondary.
And then you had to go get your actual degree in nursing, the
Right.
Bachelor of Science Nursing, approved as well by that regulator.
By that regulator, by the Nurses Association of New Brunswick as well, a separate process. And then ultimately the minister had to offer consent, or to designate consent for us to be able to do this.
Maybe you don't want to say because it might hurt too much, but how long did this take?
Too long. I'll say that.
Too long is probably a good answer. But like most of the curriculum and programs and now degrees we get approved for, we end up with great relationships with employers and associations like the nurses associations, right? That are going to lead to these students having a career.
That's right. Yeah. It was a 5-year process, although I will say COVID was in the middle of all that. So did it slow things down? Did it speed things up? It's really hard to say. But 5 years later, to almost the day, from the day we got the initial go-ahead to start developing to the day we got our consent.
How excited are you to be done and through this? And now, and you were already teaching a level of nursing, correct?
We were teaching practical nursing, yes.
So this is just a step up now, going one step further for your students and for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
We're excited, and I think the biggest work is yet to come. Right now, it's the students that count on us to pursue these careers, and the stakeholders that count on us for safe and competent and ethical nurses to enter the workforce. So I think the heart of the work, we'll say, is just about to begin.
And this is one of those projects where 10 years from now we'll look back and see how well this worked and what a difference it made.
Already could write a book about what we've learned as an institution, how I've grown as an individual, how I think we collaborated and worked with the province. I know that they would say they learned through this as well, having pioneered this with me.
What kind of a team goes into making this happen? Like, how many people inside your organization were involved?
So a number of people on the academic side, of course, within the organization, but because this was a new framework and a new program that we didn't have the expertise necessarily in-house, we hired a number of people to work alongside us from outside of the organization. Some of them now are within the organization, have joined us, but we worked with a number of curriculum specialists, curriculum developers. We worked with some great folks in Ontario on frameworks for governance and institutional structure. So a lot of, I'm going to say 10 plus people that we have engaged throughout this process to work alongside of us.
When's the first class?
Fall 2024.
So you're recruiting now. You're starting that process. Now that Monday's over, it's Wednesday. I assume you're already recruiting, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. So we have been engaging with students around the possibility, but have not been able to officially accept students until this week. So we have sent those first letters out. I'm sure you can appreciate we were anxious to get that done. And we're hoping that we have a nice full class for September.
And this is awesome. This is Canadian owned, Canadian built, Canadian solution for the province of New Brunswick, right?
100%. I'm from a small town just outside of Moncton, good old country girl.
Where are you from?
Very, very proud.
Darcie, where are you from? Where are you from?
I am from Rishabukto, New Brunswick. So a little fishing village just about 45 minutes outside of Moncton to the north.
Well, I'm lucky to have some family in New Brunswick, and I've had some meetings there and a chance to catch up with them. They were in Quispamsis for quite a while, which is a beautiful spot. There is a running joke amongst our board about New Brunswick and what airport do you go to? Because I never know what city between the three, because everybody's in a different city in the province.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So yes, Canadian, New Brunswick bred, and very proud of what I've been able to do at Oulton's with, of course, I do have a co-owner. Aaron is in the business with me as well. And together, I think we've managed to do some pretty marvelous things.
Well, we're so excited to talk about this, and we're so excited to see after COVID, and we've had this international student debate that went on this year. It was tough for our sector, although we weren't the major institutions hosting international students. It was a tough month before the story got told properly.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see this news. It's nice to see the cooperation with the Nurses Association, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I do look back and say that, rightfully they needed time for us to kind of demonstrate our competence and earn their respect. And I could look back a few years later and say that I have nothing but positive things to say about the growth in the relationships and the collaboration that has happened.
It's all we ever ask for, right? Is a chance to partner.
That's right.
A chance to work together to help the students.
Chance to show what we can do to help the greater good.
So do you have a one lesson for other colleges looking at doing similar things or looking to partner? Is it, I'm going to go with patience?
Yeah, I think patience. I would say that certainly not if you're adverse to risk. There was a tremendous amount of risk when you look at the resources that were required to put it together. We bought a new facility to host, millions of dollars before you can actually have a student. And so I think, you have to be that entrepreneurial spirit. You have to be wanting to work hard, go through lots of hoops, whether you think they're the right hoops or not. They're somebody's hoops, and you got to go through them, right?
And that's lost on a lot of people who don't understand our sectors, the risk you all
Yeah,
take on as entrepreneurs. And there's
yeah,
no guarantee of a student at the end of the
no,
day or government
no,
funding to help you get it done, right?
no, no,
So
no.
it's interesting because I went back before we got on here today, and I looked back at the history of the college and Gordon Oulton, who started the college. And
Hmm.
it's interesting. It's what you're doing today, but they designed the early courses to meet an urgent shortage of certain skills in the labor market. It sounds exactly like what you're still doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how's Oulton evolved since those days? Obviously bigger.
Bigger. Um, Bigger, and we talk about this a lot because I have the 1957 graduation picture in my office, and the slogan, if you will, across the center of it says "Stairway to Efficiency." So those were two, what you mentioned in that are two of the things we often talk about at Oulton's. And so has it changed, or has it just developed relative to the needs in the market? And I think that's the case. I think the latter is the case. We still very much work with a sense of urgency all the time. That's our mojo. That's how we get things done. That's the spirit we like to work in. So that urgency to get students to market, and the efficiency comes in with the programming. You know, how we format programs, how we get students through in accelerated fashions, and how we ensure that they have a short time frame from education to the workforce so that we can support those labor market areas. So I think changed in terms of numbers, but in terms of intention, I don't think so.
So if he looked back today, if Mr. Oulton looked back today, he'd see something he recognizes, wouldn't he?
He certainly would.
That's
He certainly would.
that's awesome to hear. Talk to me a bit, maybe about one of your favorite programs or one of your favorite students, or where you think Oulton's had the biggest impact in New Brunswick over the years.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there's been so many success stories with students, and they're all special in their own way. Certainly, the stories about the students or the families that maybe didn't have all the tools in their toolbox to come to college and be successful, and we were, that system and that support to be able to help them get to the finish line. So, the students who don't need us, I'll say, who are going to be able to do this with little struggle and on their own, and they're wonderful to have in the class because they support so many other students. But the other students are the ones that really need us, and those are the ones that I've been so proud of over the years. In terms of programs, just the same. When you find something, and I've developed a lot of programs at Oulton's. So when you find a program that really has that perfect marriage between the employer or the labor market and what the student wants, it's it's just a fantastic feeling, Michael, when you can see that you're really bringing students in for something that's going to have a fantastic outcome for them. And you have the student demand on the other side, so it's a profession that students want to be in, and you know that they're going to go out there and work with that employer and be happy and contribute and last a long time in that profession. Practical nursing was not an easy one to get going either, and probably one of my prouder moments, because that's not always possible at a career college, at a private career college, to offer that program. And much like the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, I went through my share of hoops to get that one. But I fought for it because I believed that students wanted a choice and the employers needed an Oulton grad. And I expect that that's the feeling we're going to have with the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, right? That perfect fit.
Well, that's neat to hear. I was going to ask you about how things have stayed the same at the college, but I think you kind of answered that because you by your own answers. You've kept that program going while getting to the next generation and getting to the next generation. Your passion's coming through for what you do. You love it, don't you?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've changed roles. I started at Oulton's a little bit in the classroom, and I started doing career services, Michael, and that's probably been a moment at Oulton that formed and shaped my career is starting at the career service point, at the juncture where students are leaving school and going to jobs, really gave me that sense of why we do it, right? The why has been front and center for me since the day I started at Oulton, because that's what I was doing, placing students in jobs. Yeah.
I just have to go to a grad ceremony. I talk about them all the time. You just have to go to one grad ceremony at a career college and you see it. And I don't know Oulton, but I know some of the ones I've been to in Toronto and in Saskatoon and other places where it's such a diverse crowd of people.
Yep.
Often the first person for the family graduating
Yep,
from something, and 6, 7, 10 family members there cheering them on. It is a special moment.
Oh yes, it is. There is that lots of joy, lots of happiness, proud moments for sure.
Just a funny question, but how many employers do you think you've worked with over the years? Is it in the hundreds?
Oh, it's more than that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, across 20 different sectors, say. I mean, programs ebb and flow as the needs change, but just the number of sectors over the years and the variety or the demographic of the students that require, they're not all staying in Moncton. So as the demographic of students changes, so do our employers outside of Moncton, outside of New Brunswick, different professions, different roles, evolving roles. It's got to be, many, many hundred for sure.
And your sector in New Brunswick, the private career college sector, the regulated career college sector, has a fortunate, very, very good relationship with your regulator too, though. There's a real good back and forth about targeting jobs that are needed, careers that are needed. So you guys are fortunate on that end, aren't you?
Yeah. We've worked really hard at that, Michael. There's, you have to respect and appreciate the folks that make it possible for us to have a college in the province. And it wasn't always easy. We had some building to do, but with, I think, some of the leaders in the sector that you spoke of earlier and our own association, provincial and national, we've really built some strong relationships there, regardless of government. And can count on them, I think, to at least have some good conversations about perspective and what they'd like to see us do.
We can get lost in the moment sometime of complaining, but they're out to make sure that the economy keeps going, the healthcare system keeps going. There's enough truck drivers on the road, and they're driving in a safe manner. So it's good to hear that comment. Do you have a student story, a specific student that really affected you? You don't have to say their name, or is it just really a collection of them all?
It's a collection of them all. I mean, I love students. I love to watch them grow. I love to watch them succeed. I love to watch them stumble and watch us help them get back up. And I think any story where you can say to a student, so you fell down a minute, it's okay. We've all fallen down. Let's get back up and take it from here. And I think, I have stories from many years ago. I'm thinking of a mature student. I was doing career services, and he had the education, but not a lot of other tools on his tool belt. And, we went clothes shopping and hair cutting and to the dentist and all those important things when you're trying to look for a job. And he started working at a company during his on-job training. And to this day, he's still a senior manager at that same organization. And just needed a break, right?
This is an audio podcast. You can't see Darcie's smile, but she's lit up now thinking about that old student, and it's nice to see. And I always tell the story of a graduation I was at in Ottawa, and the valedictorian, what an incredible story of what she'd gone through just to graduate. But she picked out her mentor in the crowd, which was a student.
Wow.
It was a student in her class who got her through it. And she thanked him from the podium. So I'm going to transition off. We always finish with one question. And I'm going to throw two at you, actually, because often we ask people, if we have a moment, if there's a skill or something that has made them successful, something they either learned early or learned late in life, that is the thing that really makes you great at what you do. Do you think there is one thing, Darcie, that makes Darcie Darcie?
Staying Darcie.
Staying.
Whether that's great or not, it has kept me focused. It's kept me true to why I started this. It's been a really, really interesting path because the industry has changed a lot. There's a lot of pressures coming from a lot of places to do things differently, and it's just about finding your intention and staying true to it, albeit that you can change style and you can change way and you can try different business routes and different programming and so on. But I feel that the thing that I've done well, and learned that from who I would say was my mentor when I first started at Oulton College, is, just remember why you do this. And every decision, it was Mr. Don Fontaine. Don Fontaine started at Oulton's when he was 19, started working there at 19, and ended his career there, probably 5 or 6 years after I started there. So I didn't have a long time with him before he passed, but the words he spoke to me, his actions, the stories you still hear about him in the community are, is your decision right for the student? Might not be the easy one, but is it right for the student? And does it fit with why you're here?
And the board chair of NAC, when I joined, he gave me one piece of advice. George Hood said, focus on the student's success. Focus on doing what's right for them. Just focus, Mike, in this job, and you won't think you're touching the students, but your actions are. So focus on what. So
that's right.
You may have named them already, but we finish every episode by asking someone for that great mentor. And as I always say, every time I do this, I think of another one, because there is no one, so there could be two. But do you have a mentor that's had a moment or that big thing for you in your life, your career?
Yeah, so many. I mean, there's so many of different places, different times that I've learned from people. But I think just to keep it right back at the grassroots, Don Fontaine, that was at Oulton's when I started there with Brian Baxter, just some of those really strong words of advice, and guided me through that for the first several years I was at Oulton's to say, does this decision align? Why did we make this decision? Why do you think we would make this decision? That has really, really stuck with me, and I've always done my very best to serve students right.
Anything else you want to say today, Darcie? Is there anything you wanted to get across? It's a big week for you.
Yeah, it's a little hard to focus this week. It's a big week. It's a milestone on a number of levels for the college and for the province and for the sector. And I'm proud to be the one to do it. I enjoy the opportunity, the risk, and all of the things that come with pioneering something like this. And I think it shows what our collective group is capable of. And I hope that it leads to good things for our institution in the future, as well as other institutions who are looking to make a difference in their own provinces.
And I love to hear the story of collaboration with the association and the other people. And it's a good thing they were a little cautious and careful and worked their way through it with you, because you end up in a better place, right?
Yeah.
So
we.
Yeah, so with that, I'm going to wrap up this week's episode. I want to say, Darcie, a couple things I'm left with. Again, 1956. These colleges that we talk about. 1956. You've been in operation with, just graduating tens of thousands of students, maybe 100,000 students in New Brunswick during that time. Who've gone on to make great differences. So I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you and the entire team. You're the one here, but I know you're the first to defer to the whole team who got this accomplished and all the people who helped you get it done. You're the one here today to talk about it, but on behalf of the whole association and myself, congratulations on a fantastic outcome, and we're all excited to see where this goes. And with that, I'm going to leave this week's episode of the EdUp Canada podcast, and I encourage you all to take a look at Oulton College to see what they're doing and to reach out if you've got any questions. It's a fantastic week for New Brunswick and for nursing and for the healthcare system. So congratulations, Darcie.
Thank you, and happy Nurses Week.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of the EdUp Canada podcast. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they are officially out. If you love this episode, please leave a 4 or 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts so that others can also discover how a set of skills can lead to success. Thanks for learning with us.